We're now entering my hometown of Federal Way, Washington. Yeehaw! Just kidding about that last part. So I know this is just a typical McDonald's here, typical everyday McDonald's, but I used to work at this one right here. I worked at this store for 4 years. And it looks definitely looks way different now outside than it did before when I was working there. And when I was working there, there was only one drive-thru window. Now there's two right there. See? Got some support for the 12s. Go Ox. All right, as you just saw, just a little while ago, we drove into my hometown, Federal Way, Washington. You probably hear this plane above. I'm sorry about that. Let's work with it though. As I said, we're in Federal Way, Washington. This is the town where I grew up in. We lived in this town when I was about 11 years old, and I lived here until I was about 25, 26 years old when I actually moved to Utah. I wanted to bring to you in this little video some of the sites where I used to go hang out as a teenager. And I'm actually I'm at one of those sites right now. We used to take the bus up to downtown Federal Way all the time, and this is one of the places where I hung out a lot. Let me go ahead and flip the camera and I'll show you out where it's at right now, where I'm at. All right, this is where this is the old Target building. As you can see, the building is obviously here. This location actually closed, I think in like 2003 or 2004. I was on my church mission at the time. It closed and actually moved way down there on the other side of the wall down there to the Seatac Mall. You can probably see some of the lights down there. We'll go down there in just a second. But I used to come here to this location all the time. I remember when I was like about 12 or 13 years old, Nintendo introduced the Virtual Boy. And I remember when that thing came out, I used to want to come. I used to want to get one of those things so bad. I played all the time, but I would come to this location. They had a display up for it where you just try out the system. I loved it. I wanted to try it out so bad. But obviously it failed. I never got one, which is okay with me. Let's see if we can go up here real quick. Sorry for all the construction vehicles going on in the background. That's actually another location just in the same parking lot here. But as soon as I'm doing this, I wanted to see something real quick. There's a little hole. See, it's open right here. Oh, can't see anything in there at all. Anyways, here's another location just right here where they're building new construction. That wasn't there before. There used to be a building that I used to go to all the time. It was a Toys R Us building. I went there all the time. Sometimes my parents would come here to Target to do their shopping, and if I had a friend with me or my little brother, one of the two, we used to go over to that Toys R Us to go check things out. Like I know I was saying just a second ago that I would come to this Target building to play Virtual Boy. I would sometimes go over there to go check out some of the coolest toys. I used to collect Transformers and Hot Wheels. I used to collect them. I wish I still had them, but I don't, unfortunately. If I still had them, I'd probably be a lot richer and stuff like that. But they tore the building down, I think, about 2 years ago. And it's like empty. The city of Federal Way was trying to figure out what to do with it. And obviously you can see they're doing something with it right now. They're building something right there. And I was talking to my dad about it. And he was telling me that this is supposed to be like a performing arts building, supposed to be like an indoor theater. Not like a movie theater, but like a theater where people actually act on stage and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of a good idea. I think it's about time they actually do something with this. Now, I would go over here and show you everything over the wall right here. But my son is right. I have my baby son in the van right here, so I don't want to go too far from it. But just over there, there's a little park there now, but there used to be an AMC theater there that I think it closed in like 2000 or 2001. I remember going to see the very last movie I saw there was the very first X-Men movie that came out, and I think the theater closed shortly after that, and it laid empty for years and years and years. And I think that was about 2000 to 2001 when it closed down. When I got home from my mission in 2005, the AMC building was still up, but it was still vacant. No one was there. And they just tore it down, built a park out of it within the last like 2 or 3 years. And then over here, just around these bushes, on the other side of these trees by the wall down at the end of the Target building, there's actually a transit center. Don't go there because it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. There have been murders there before. It's kind of a scary place to be. And just another place is over here. There's a car. You see like the blue Subaru. There's kind of trees right up there. Just on the side at the end of this building right here, this end of this shopping complex, there's a car collecting shop. My dad and I used to go there just to collect cards, and my mom used to go there just to collect Beanie Babies back when those were popular. She still has some of those Beanie Babies, you know, but they're practically worthless now. Okay, right before we go down to where the theater is at, I wanted to come over here and drive right by this. This used to be the Top Foods. I think it closed about 2 years ago. I think the chain actually went bankrupt. But this is Top Foods. But what you can still see by the main entrance where that silver thing is, you can still see the outline where it says Top Foods. If you look closely, Top Foods. My wife and I actually, when we first got married, we didn't live too far from here. We actually lived just on the other side of that Target building that's over there. And we used to just walk over here to Top Foods, you know, just to get out of the house for a little bit, and so we didn't have to use our car or anything. We used to come over here and just get popsicles and just eat them here. That's one of those little things we used to do. You know, one of those little married things that you do that you love to do and have good memories of, you know. And my wife actually worked over here. She liked the job. She liked it over here. Just a little stressful guy. You know, it was a nice job for her. She liked it. Here's where that Toys R Us was. Top Foods is back there. And this is what I was talking about. Here's what they did with the old AMC site. It's now a playground. And it's a very nice playground from what I see. It looks awesome. And you got the transit center over there. This is called Town Square Park, as you can see on the sign right there. Yep. And these buildings, they've actually always been there. I used to walk up and down this road whenever I got ready for work at the McDonald's, and I stopped a couple hours ago where you see that Gracie Barra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They used to be a magazine store I used to go to all the time to go buy some comics all the time. The Sivers has always been here. The Red Lobster has always been here. Taco Time has always been here. But this bank used to be a Burger King. McGrath's Fish House, all these exterior buildings outside of the mall here, they're all less than 10 years old. This Buffalo Wild Wings is actually an empty lot up until maybe 2 years ago, from what I've heard. It was an empty lot. The main Seatac Mall sign, which is where we're at. Its new name is the Commons at Federal Way. So if you look it up, it'll be the Commons at Federal Way. But I know it as Seatac Mall. There used to be a sign on that side of the mall where Buffalo Wild Wings was. There used to be the main mall sign, and now it's just down over there. But it used to be an old school 70s looking one stuff. There's a commercial on YouTube for the Seatac Mall, and it's a commercial from 1981. I'll see if I can get a link for it down in the description below. Well, you'll see what the mall used to look like, and that's how I grew up knowing the Seatac Mall. Like the 70s logo, purple on orange and white glass, and lighting was just all weird and funky. But this is the Seatac Mall. The exterior is way different. That's where the new Target is down there. That used to be a Mervyn's until about 2003 or 4 when they tore it down and made it a Target. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording for right now. And I'm going to see if I can actually walk in and do a quick walk through the mall. Well, to tell you the truth, that was actually a nice little trip down memory lane for me. Like I most likely, when I go back to edit this video, I'll go ahead and leave some captions in the video marking where I'm talking about when I first started working, or when I first started talking about this little section of the video. Anyways, this is Seatac Mall. No, to me it's Seatac Mall. Right now it's known as the Commons at Federal Way. Federal Way being the name of the town we're in right now. And this is the city where I grew up in. Spent most of my life in. I love it. It's had a couple of years where it started getting, the town started to be a little more ghetto, more gang violence. But within the last few years, it has actually made a vast improvement in trying to get rid of gang violence and stuff like that. Anyways, the reason why this mall is so special to me, I don't usually spend a lot of time at malls, really. Well, I kind of do, because I like the malls. Malls are one thing that are constantly changing, hit or miss, meaning, like, you know, I guess depending on the demographics, the area where you live, the mall could be a success, it could be a crap hole. For me, this mall was for a little while sorry if you hear that's my son in the background. He likes to hear himself talk. For a while there, this mall was kind of a dive. It was just like the last place anybody would really want to be in. If you know, for those of you from Federal Way, you know what I'm talking about. This mall was just kind of a trash hole, but for some reason I loved going back there with my friends. I'll put a link at the bottom in the description of this video for this commercial. I think I mentioned it earlier on in the video, but there's a commercial for the Seatac Mall when from like 1980, I think 81 or 82, just a few years after the mall opened. I think the mall opened in 1977 or 78, right around then. But it used to look like you could definitely tell the mall was from the 70s. With the decor of the inside, it was mostly carpeted. There's little seating areas. It looked like it was just like a big, huge bench with like surrounded bushes. There was stained glass lighting coming in from the roof. It wasn't stained glass lighting. Taylor, sorry, he's not mad. He's actually back there smiling. But anyways, the lighting coming into in like the main areas of the mall where you see like a Macy's, or you see where the theater is, you know, where all the anchor stores are at in the mall. They would Taylor, they were they were just ugly looking. They were white, purple, orange, very 70s looking. Anyways, I'll link a video I'll put a link in the description below from that commercial, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And that design stayed around basically until about 2003 or 4, when the mall was completely renovated, including the exterior of the mall. I think the commercial has a shot of the exterior of the mall, and you'll even see it's different now. Sorry, I had to do a real quick pause to calm my son down. As you heard him in the background, he's being a little bit loud. Anyways, the reason why I wanted to do a video of this mall is because I actually had so many memories of going to this mall when I was a kid. This road I'm actually on right now, 320th, is the actual road that me and my friends would take. Sometimes we would take the BPA trail, which is like kind of further in town, a little further off to my left, going through neighborhoods. Basically, we used to ride our bikes up to the mall back in the day, just go out and hang out there. That used to be a place where we go buy our video games. As I mentioned earlier, I used to go to that Target and buy our video games there, or buy video games there every once in a while. And that was back in the day. Like I said, Virtual Boy was just coming out, being released right around the time that the Super Nintendo era was coming to a close. And right around the time Nintendo 64 was being released. It was about, was awesome. I mean, if you know me, you'll know that I love video games, but now that I'm 32, almost 33, I've kind of toned down my video game conversations that kind of toned it down within the last 2 years, especially. I mean, video games, I love them. They're important to me, but they're not as important to me as they used to be. Now that I'm a dad, I have 2 kids of my own, I've kind of toned it down. I still have a lot of really good memories playing video games with my friends, getting to know new people that way. Anyways, in the mall, I left some markers that definitely changed a lot. Now there used to be only 1, 2, 3, 4 anchor stores. Now there's 6, I think. And the anchor stores used to be a Mervyn's, it was a Bon Marché, a Gottschalk's, and Sears. The Sears is still there. The Bon Marché became Macy's, which is still there, as you saw in the video. And the things that changed was Gottschalk's is now that Century Theater we walked by. And then Target is in the place where Mervyn's used to be. We all know that Mervyn's went out of business and closed all their stores. I think there's maybe like 8 to 10 left in the entire world that are still open. But where Target is now in that mall is where Mervyn's is now. Mervyn's, they closed I think they closed that location in 2003 or 4, right around the time when they're renovating the mall. I was actually on my church mission at the time, and we just pulled into the neighborhood where we grew up, so I'll try to make it fast. Anyways, they tore it down and then built the Target there, and then when that Target opened up, the old building where we were where we were located at the very beginning of the video, that one closed down when the new Target opened up, and that building has actually stayed vacant ever since. There are lots of plans going on about what it would be, what the city wants to do with it, but a lot of them failed. And as you saw earlier in the video, that Toys R Us is now not there anymore. Instead, it's going to be a performing arts video. So I was driving through this neighborhood, it's just bringing back a whole lot of memories. So, and it has changed a lot. And the reason why I paused were in the food court area where you saw the pizza stand. The reason why I stopped there for so long is because that used to be a Cinnabon stand, and that was actually the very first Cinnabon ever to be in existence in the world. That was where the very first and the very original Cinnabon store was located. I remember when I was a kid, before my dad was stationed in Germany the second time. If you want to know about that, just ask me. I'll let you know. But I was maybe about 8 years old, 9 years old when I very first went to that mall and saw that Cinnabon store, and that was the original. You remember they used to have like little pedestals or like little steps, like 2 or 3 steps where you could stand up, and if you're too short, it would let you look over the counter, and it would let you watch them make the cinnamon rolls. I remember I used to love doing that. That was so much fun. I used to love doing that, and I wish I actually had the Cinnabon recipe. But to tell you the truth, my wife's cinnamon rolls are way better. So there you go. All right, well, I'm pulling up into my cul-de-sac that I grew up playing in. So I'm going to pause it. I'm going to turn the camera around, and I'll show you the house I grew up in. Okay, I'm not going to be long. My son is crying. This is the house where I grew up in. I'll tell you a little story about that front window here in a second. And my aunt and uncle live in this house. They still live next door to us. Or they still live there. And this is our baseball diamond we used to grow up playing in. Okay, I know that was just a real quick video. I wanted to spend some more time on it, on filming around the house, but I'll go ahead and film about it right now. It's okay, Taylor. He's a little sad, but when I was there, the second I stopped recording, there was an old neighbor of mine that was there. James Thomas. He had lived in that house ever since that house was built. And he was in that blue house with the long driveway towards the end of that last clip. But he was Stephen and Donnie's dad. When we knew him as Stephen and Donnie's dad. Yeah. Taylor. We're going back now to Mom, okay? Sorry, I gotta help calm him down while I'm recording this video. I'm sorry if it gets a little bit loud. But anyways, I wanted to mention something about this with that house there. with the 15th anniversary of 9/11 coming up soon. But like what I was trying to say at the end of the last little clip, with the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks coming up here in just a few days, it's Thursday. I'm sorry. It's Thursday now. Sorry about that. Like I was trying to say, it's the Thursday before the 15th anniversary of 9/11, which is this upcoming Sunday. I wanted to share my little experience, and my story had something to do with that little house. Anyways, 9/11. When 9/11 occurred, I had just become a senior in high school about a week or two prior to that. Well, obviously the summer before the summer. As soon as the school year before was done, I was a senior. But the school year had just started up, and we were going to early morning seminary at the church building, which is like 10 or 15 minutes away from where we lived in that house. And we went every morning from 6 until 6:55, which meant we got up at about 5:15 or 5:30. So that morning when I was waking up, it was right about that morning when I woke up was right around the time when the first plane hit the first tower, and no one knew it. We didn't have the news on. I would wake up, got myself ready for class, and just kind of sat there on the couch waiting. The couch is just inside that front window you saw at the house. And my cousin, the one that lived next door, that had the RV in the front, my aunt still lives there. My aunt and uncle, they both still live there. And their daughter, their oldest daughter, is about 2 weeks younger than I am. So we're about the same age, like literally. And sitting there on the couch waiting for her, my other cousin, her younger brother, he was like a year or two younger than I am. We were waiting for them to come on over to bring us over there. I didn't have a license at the time, and I was almost 18. I didn't have a license. Yeah, I wasn't too worried about getting it. I wasn't focused about getting one. And then so we were sitting there. We were waiting for them to come over and come pick us up or come get us, even though they were only 20 feet away. But we were sitting there, and during this time, we weren't aware that the plane had hit the tower. So we were going. We get into the car. It's early morning. We're all kind of groggy. We're still tired, so weren't really saying much, and still had the radio turned off. Just trying to keep it quiet so we can, those of us who weren't drivers, can get some sleep. Even though it was only like a 15-minute drive to get there. And then we get there. We go to seminary. We're there for the whole time. And at 6:55, about 7 o'clock, we get out. School starts at 8, so we run. We had my best friend with us too at the time, Rick Barney. He was with us. He's still one of my best friends. I shouldn't say at the time, but he's still one of my best friends. Just after my wife and stuff. Anyways, we dropped him off at school, and then we went over back to our house. And my cousin Linda at the time was trying to find a radio station that was actually playing some music. But none of the stations were playing any kind of music. It was just all a whole bunch of news reports going on. So we're just kind of sitting there like, what the heck is going on? Why is there no music playing? Because we were teenagers. We wanted to play music. We wanted to play it loud, So no one had said anything about a bomb or a plane going into the towers at all. We just heard that the Pentagon and the World Trade Center had been evacuated, and so we're like, what the heck? It must have been like something like super serious if they're evacuating those two places. None of us were aware yet still of what was going on. Anyways, I don't know why, but Linda was nice enough to just drop us off right in front of our house with the window, and even though it was only like a 20-foot distance, she didn't have to drop us off, but she did. And I get out of the car, and I remember her like looking through the window, just pausing for a minute, because just inside that front window was our TV, was our main TV, where we sat there and watched TV together as a family. Anyways, I looked in there. I see that the World Trade Center is actually on fire. And just as I recognized what was going on, I was thinking it was like maybe a movie was going on. I yelled out to my cousin because she had just parked into the driveway, gone down out of the car. I yelled, "The World Trade Center is on fire! The World Trade Center is on fire!" And I wasn't sure what was going on. I was thinking at first maybe it was a movie. And that's actually what my cousin asked me. What's going on? Is it a movie? Is it like a movie or something like that? I'm like, I don't know. There's some TV in there. And we both ran inside. And I remember seeing her just booking it to her house. I was booking it to my house. And by the time from the time I said that to the time I actually walked in the door, I think that was right about the time when the first tower fell. But I didn't notice at the time. My mom had just said, the tower fell, the tower fell. I was like, what? Are you serious? Is this seriously moving, or is this really going on? What's going on? And my mom told me that there are many different new reports going out about bombs and planes, maybe. But it was just weird. I was like, what the heck? This sucks, you know? And that was what was, oh man, that's what I mean. Even though I was growing up here in Federal Way, like, 3-hour time zones behind New York City and stuff like that, we are on the completely opposite side of the country from New York City, but we just still felt the pain and the sorrow of what happened over there. And it's just hard to say, with all those people and friends going away like that. A bunch of innocent people just randomly died that morning. I think it was almost 3,000 deaths that they found. But it just affected America in every way, shape, and form. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I had to stop the video for a second just to clear up some tears. Sorry about that. Anyways, I'm sorry. Just go back to the subject we were talking about here just a little while ago. I got a little bit off track. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, the reason why I stopped recording when I was at the cul-de-sac, didn't get a whole lot of recording done, is because my son was crying, and I got to talk with James for about 10 to 15 minutes. He was Stephen and Donnie's dad. Stephen and Donnie are two friends of ours who used to play baseball with us in the cul-de-sac. I parked right next to the bush that we called first base. There was a sewer cover that was second base right in front of the wall, where my cousins lived. And the basketball hoop, I probably got in the hoop, got it in the video, just a quick glimpse of it. That was third base, and home plate was where Stephen and Donnie's driveway ended. Basically anywhere that hit a roof that was out in the outfield was basically a home run. So it was a small field. Dad, I know you're back there, big guy. I know. But let's get back to the mall. So I was talking about the Cinnabon and how that was the very first Cinnabon to be in the world of existence. Very first one in the world. And I think it closed down about 10 or 15 years ago because they started expanding. They don't have a location at Federal Way anymore that I know of. But they closed it now. It's a pizza stand. Originally it was a Spiral, and then it changed to something else. Whatever it is now. I think it's called Zeta, I think it is. And just right across from where I was at, basically, there's a couple things I wanted to mention. That GameStop, it wasn't always a GameStop. I remember when I first moved here, when I was like 10 or when I was about 11 years old, the store space was unoccupied, and then it changed to shortly after we got there. It was called an electronics boutique, or ebgames.com was what it was called. And then it changed to GameStop, and that was where we went all the time for. That is literally the store, the location where I would always buy new video games because they're less expensive. There are some used ones, and now I would only go to Target and Toys R Us to get new games if I wanted to get the brand new game that just came out, the coolest one, that just came out, stuff like that. I would go and go there for like new games, pre-orders, or whatever they would do back at the time. But GameStop's where I bought most of my games because they were cheap, they were inexpensive, they were used, but they were still good quality. I loved going there. And when you're looking at that GameStop, just to the right, there used to be a Foot Locker there, but I'm not sure why, but that Foot Locker moved over like 1 or 2 store spaces, and it's still there. Where it's located now, it's still there, but it's a different store. where it originally was. And then we walked by, and then there's like one or two stores to the left of that GameStop. It used to be a sweet factory. That's where we would go to get Kennedy before we went to the movies. We would sneak into my mom's purse, just because there used to be an AMC theaters there before the Century theaters were there. They were there back kind of where the coffee shop was, right by like Baskin Robbins. I'll mark it off in the when I go into editing the film, I'll go back into it and I'll go and edit it. I'll leave a little caption of where the AMC theater used to be, and honestly, that location actually used to be at Borders Books too. But after the theater closed out, it was empty for a long time. I think it was for a few years. I think that theater location closed in 1997, I think it was. But sometime between 1997 and 2000 is when it closed. And then before I left on my mission, 2001 or 2, the location was closed for a little while. And then it opened up as the Borders Books. And that Borders Books closed down, I think the company went bankrupt just a few years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, and they closed down all their locations. And now that space is used for like the farmers market, because it rains here so often that they do it indoors now. That's where they do that. And that little coffee shop that's right there, we walked right by it. That last time I was here, that was actually a Starbucks still. So when I videotaped that little coffee shop, I think it was called Coffee House, I think it was called. That was actually the very first time that I saw it as something else other than a Starbucks. And with it being so close, my wife and I went to that location, or the location that was across the street from the mall. We used to go to that location, get vanilla bean frappuccinos all the time, enjoy each other's company and stuff like that. And we walked through the food court, and right where it turns, at that L corner, there used to be a McDonald's, and now it's closed off. I'm not sure why it's closed, but from what I've heard, it was health code violations. I'm not sure. But it closed out. I knew the manager there, and from what he said, he said they're going to close down anyway, so who cares, whatever. I know he's still working at McDonald's, but at the Walmart across the street with my mom. I ended up going to visit him before I go home to Utah. I don't know, but that food court used to be the hopping place. There used to be McDonald's there, used to be a Subway there, used to be a little barbecue joint there. Used to be Cinnabon. It was like super delicious. There was an Orange Julius there, but now it's a Wetzel's Pretzels. The only restaurants that are still left there in that food court that were there when I was growing up, or that were there when I was growing up, there's 3 of them. There was that Baskin Robbins. That place has always been there. There was a Hero's House. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but it's a gyro house. Gyros, Heroes, or something like that. That place has always been there. And just barely across, I don't know if we got it, but it was called a Mei Mei House. It's like a mini Chinese restaurant, basically. Just like a booth, basically. And those 3 things have always been there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was kind of long and kind of boring, but this is kind of a step back into my past, to look back into my history, stuff I used to do. I'd love to see like stuff and locations that everybody else does, that you do, because I love hearing about stuff like that, stuff that changes. The reason why I wanted to do Seatac malls, because that's a mall that was constantly changing, people going in and out, always changing. That's why I like doing mall videos, because of stuff like that. Anyways, I know this video was a little too long, a lot of information. I could have made it a lot longer than it really was, but I'm glad I cut it down, because I think it's just barely to below 20 minutes now. I'm sorry the video is so long, and I hope you guys enjoy your day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to my channel down below. Just clicking that subscribe button. The more subscribers, the better. Follow my Facebook group, www.facebook.com/group/famous-American-stuff. Malls are very American, so that's famous. That's something famous. Dead mall, living mall, whatever. I wouldn't consider this mall a dead mall, but it's not exactly the most it doesn't exactly have a whole lot of people still going to it, really. And also, follow me on Twitter at Chris Sarine. And also follow me on Instagram at ShredderDog83. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Didn't get too bored. And I'll get back to you guys later on in my next video. Not sure what it's going to be, but I'll get back to you guys later on. All right, peace out, y'all.